Okay, so next up is Paul Rowan. Paul is another very special person, special friend. Paul is the co-founder and the vice president of inspiration of a wondrous company that I'm sure most of you folks know about called Umbra. And if you don't know Umbra, you don't know how to shop for edgy products. You just don't. He was trained as a graphic designer. He started his company by having a desire for a cooler window shade, and he used printed paper for decoration, and the next thing you know, he got together with a friend. They came up with the name Umbra because that means shade, and so Umbra was born. He's won multiple very, very, very prestigious design awards. He's a member of the International Housewares Association, which is how I met Paul, and he's on the board of governors of Ontario College of Art and Design, and in 2010, he was inducted into the Canadian Marketing Hall of Legends as a visionary. So, Paul, I'm thrilled. Thank you, Paul.
So, I don't think we've actually said enough about Walter, but he actually stalked me for several years to get involved with the school. And we just didn't cross paths properly until this came up, and this is just a thrill for me to be here, especially in front of all my friends and colleagues as well that I know from the Housewares show. How many people know the Umbra brand in the room? How many know Crate & Barrel? Almost as many, Gordon. And it's your backyard. Anyways, just to set up what I'm going to be talking about, it's this black label line called Umbra Shift. And I really like talking about it because it's a really fresh new line that Umbra's developed. It's a case study that's going on for the last couple of years. I think it's going to be really valuable to a lot of the entrepreneurs, the business managers, the designers in the room. There's a lot to take away from the development of this. It's relevant. It deals with a lot of issues selling to millennials. You know, Umbra has this 35-year growth. And, you know, we've been selling in over 100 countries around the world, and we have something like 70,000 retailers carrying it. So what you find when a company becomes that large is that you kind of have this effect to sort of chase the dollar and chase the volume, and that can affect your whole company. It affects your whole culture. So we strategized about creating this kind of black label line to recapture the kind of customer that we started with, like Crate & Barrel. And we also strategized very deeply about who we were going to sell to, how we were going to sell it, a very holistic design and branding philosophy behind it. So, of course, Umbra started with an intuitive idea, just the way TJ described it, and we made a lot of mistakes along the way trying to figure out what our brand was. I have to say that we were pretty serious about pursuing a modern design concept. Crate & Barrel was a great model for us. After discovering Crate & Barrel when we came to Chicago to the Housewares show in 1980, our whole dream was to sell your company. It was just very inspiring. So we did have a kind of vision, but we didn't realize how important what the brand was, what it meant to us. We've churned through thousands of products, and everybody in the room here is probably thinking about a product idea or a design. But the most important thing that we learned is that products really come and go. I mean, without products, we're nothing, right? But what's really important to make us sustainable is our brand. So we took all we learned about that and brought it into this new line called Umbra Shift. So it's a very graphic kind of approach to developing a brand and a design strategy. So we rely heavily on sort of creating a almost a design manual about the whole process. And we really focus, oh, sorry, can I? We focus on, I've got a bit of dry mouth. Oh yeah, thank you. We focus on creating a lot of words around describing the brand before we do any design work. So, some of you probably started your design idea or something, you're trying to build a company out. I know Brandon Williams here is, hi Brandon. I got connected to Brandon through Walter, and we're actually developing we licensed his utensil holder from him, so it's going to be in the Umbra product line next year. Sorry. I was going to say sorry, Rubber Newell. Rubber Raid Newell, we beat you to the punch on that one, eh? It's a great idea. I really think, even speaking to someone like an inventor, like Brandon over there, he's developed this idea. So when I look at it and I think, oh yeah, well, that's a strong idea. Ideas come and go, just like you churn through so many ideas. What's the essence of what you've designed, Brandon? How are you going to bring that to your design studio? How are you going to build that idea out so that you have a kind of brand strategy for your own studio, for your own personal design career? So this, for me, it's about thinking very strategically about what we're really good at and how we're going to best be most productive on it. Like, I think, obviously, Umbra through 35 years did very intuitive, grassroots kind of growth. But looking back on it, when I talk to young people like yourselves or business professionals, I'm trying to give them, in part, what I know about it so they can actually kind of compress the time to reduce the failures so we don't churn through so many mistakes. So we focus on what we really know what is good and be more productive so that maybe, my career over 35 years could be compressed to a lot shorter time. Less mistakes, more productivity, a more sustainable company. This is the whole idea behind it. So we have a very clear point of view that we share with people. And I think the key words here are a shared belief. So this is an idea that I think Gordon was very good at. He had this idea of sharing with his thousands of employees an idea that he really believed in, and he talked personally with them about it over and over again. The shared belief idea is something that runs through this whole lecture. Because when we create this kind of graphic design manual about how we're going to develop the idea, it enables us to share it with all the stakeholders. So we have vendors in Asia, for example. We have investors. We have the board of directors. We have customers, like your personal customer meetings with these ideas. We have all the designers that are working at Umbra and all the external designers. So it's very important to create this concept with the view of success. And the way we do it is by, for example, starting with a very accurate design brief. I'm sure some of you are developing design briefs for your ideas. Now, we have the advantage here of springboarding off a very large company like Umbra that's going to support it. So we did not do any design work before we did this work. Okay, this is the difference between pure entrepreneurship, where you're sort of like coming up with ideas and then figuring out what to do with it later. This is an idea about thinking about where we want to spend our time, focus, and then sharing the idea with all the stakeholders, okay? So we have a design brief that's very accurate. We have the founders. There's Les and I, like kind of like Simon and Garfunkel kind of looking. That's me. I'm the much better looking one. I always say that. So a very accurate design brief that we're going to share with everyone. It's really beautifully put together. We do, of course, you guys have heard of mood boards and style boards and all that kind of stuff, but this is not just about putting a bunch of images together. This is about very accurately depicting the kind of areas where you want to go. This is something that Crate & Barrel does all the time when they're developing their style outs. but a very important document that we're going to share with all the stakeholders. So it's a material viewpoint, it's a graphic viewpoint, it's style, it's color, it's everything, and it's very well described in the design brief. Then we move to building a really clear picture of what we want to do. Okay, so we still have not done any design work, right? Now, for those of you who have already done the design work, I still think this is very important that you bring it back and start to discovering why you did the original design work. The box cutter idea obviously led to this whole brand development of selling B2B, right? And obviously it's giving you great guideline on how to develop your business. But you can still do this, because the reason you landed on this invention or whatever that you're working on is because you were compelled to do it, and probably through passion, through your experience. I worked in my dad's hardware store when I was a kid. That's why we developed all these modern houseware ideas, because all the stuff in the hardware store was junk. And it wasn't relevant to me when I started to get my first apartment and so forth, right? So a clear picture is being developed here. And then keywords. Keywords to me are really, really important. We actually, at Umbra, these 5 keywords here, we say these every day in every meeting that we open up with about what we stand for, which is, and I think you guys understand this about our brand, original, affordable, innovative, casual, modern. And we go around the room with all the people in the meeting. It could be design, it could be sales, it could be manufacturing, it could be sourcing. We talk about this shared belief in Umbra about what we stand for. I think Crate and Barrel did a lot of that kind of keyword sharing. So this is a very important idea. Then when we went to the shift line, we started to develop new words that were more relevant to the kind of millennials that we wanted to sell to. So I love some of these ones, like utility, living, fresh, leading. So this is kind of taking us into a more early adopter, more advanced design ideas, right? So those keywords are going to be like our roadmap as we're going to start sharing this with all the stakeholders. An outside perspective is something that was really important to us. So rather than just work within the design team, the creative team that was in Umbra, we felt that they had a lot of biases about how to develop product. Yeah, like what's more important, to sell like a $10 million program to a really large big box chain, or to work on this black label line that's going to be very relatively insignificant in terms of sales, but very important in terms of a marketing strategy. You can't really get people to balance that kind of decision. So we did an outside perspective. Outside perspective can apply to outside consultants. It could be just going to another country yourself to get an outside perspective. Outside perspective is me being here has given me fresh perspectives on my viewpoint as well. So traveling, working with outside designers, consultants, we landed on a branding company called Post Projects. So we felt that this graphic approach was the core of the development of this line. So not just in terms of creating packaging, but all the things that they brought to the table, the study, the visual references, looking at art and design. Art is a big leader for us, so we're looking at art continuously. We think our demographic are people that like to jump in the air when they're being photographed. So this is starting to get a picture. I think you can see that it's kind of a design for designers studio look that we're kind of developing here. And, you know, couples that sort of look the same. So, sorry, making fun of millennials. But you can see that this is, these are important images for us. Looking at photography and visual references from art. And this was a very important image for us too, because we started to develop a photographic style that we're going to use as a standard. So a lot of you will be developing your brand, and you'll be spending hours saying whether which photograph is better than this one, or what's this composition, or please approve this. Before we started doing any photography, we started establishing a photography standards manual that would deal with the issue. So we could be more productive and move through it, and then the stakeholders understand how to shoot the product. We have, you'll see as it developed, how it played out. The logo itself, US, I mean, the Canadians said, we're horrified, US, you know. How can you call your company US? That's ridiculous. You're a Canadian. But the key here was that we had this, the graphic designers came up with a very flexible idea that allowed us to use it in different forms. One of the most important ones was this one, because most companies, if they are enlightened about design, they will say, designed by Brandon Williams right on it, right? And we will, Brandon, don't worry, your name will be on it. But in this particular case, we made it a co-branded effort. So not only, imagine when you show a designer that's going to be a stakeholder in this whole project, that his name is actually co-branded in our logo, you can see that he's going to be a little bit more passionate about developing the idea. So this is how it played out. These are some early catalog renditions. Looking for designers, so that was very strategic. We had mature men and women, Canadian, American, international. So we blended them. We looked at what the bloggers were pointing out to be the hottest new designers. This is Philip Malouin. He's actually a terrific industrial designer, but he's also a Prada runway model. So imagine having him in your booth. And most of the buyers are women. So he's beautiful. And then just like bloggers, this is Wallpaper Magazine that featured Canada. So actually they showed us all the hot designers in Canada that we should be working with. Very easy to find these kind of sources. The group played out like this. I think a lot of you guys know Harry Allen from New York. He's quite renowned. This team is really fabulous. So yeah, getting a nice balanced group of creative individuals working to work with. The branding, you know, of course, you've seen design standards manuals, but these are things that people do after they have their little invention ready and they start to think about maybe they're going to have some corporate standards. I say do the corporate standards before you do anything, because this is how everything is going to be streaming through as you produce your documentation. I went to a meeting and the salespeople had put up all the costing sheets using Excel spreadsheets, and I was horrified. I said, we've got a standards manual to lay out every single kind of graphic. Are you crazy? Don't show me an Excel spreadsheet. It should be a beautiful design piece. Everything, as you said, TJ, like you're integrating design in every aspect of your business. So like you can't just have an ugly Microsoft Excel spreadsheet as part of my design manual. It doesn't fit. You know, so color study, how to use the logos, how to, color was very important to standardize because we're manufacturing all over the world. So how do you standardize to create a packaging system like this? So what we learned as well with packaging is that instead of hiding the package in the back of the room, the inventory in most stores, why not make the packaging an effective sales tool, not just to speak to selling, but to speak about the beauty and the artistry of the product. So this is what they came up with. And the photography, you can see now how these guidelines are affecting our horizon line here, or the studio look. As a joke, they sent this back, a broken down box that they received in the studio, and they said, this is how you're going to shoot it no matter what it is. So it's kind of like a tongue-in-cheek little part of the design manual. So global sourcing is something that was bringing that kind of, there's an artisanal thing about this that's a little different than the Umbra brand, which is a lot more slickly manufactured. So we went to countries that could deliver this, like Thailand. And part of the reason I'm showing you this too is this, whenever we go to the factories, we're creating scenarios like this, so that's part of our content creation. So we realize now that our marketing, this whole idea, the design book, the marketing, and to be able to share that with our customers, our millennial customers, they want to share in how the manufacturing is done, the process, the countries where it's made, and there's great stories here in all these products, right? USB charger in LED lamp was one of the most sophisticated ones that we did. Here's a couple videos to give you an idea of how they are sharing the behind the scenes, the process of actually creating the design book. opens intuitively. It's a plan, right? And these guys are passionate about executing to the plan. It's really, really nice stuff, I think. So you can see there is a kind of artisanal aspect to it. It has craft, it has interesting combinations of materials, it has a point of view. So that's something that's on YouTube, right? So that's all linked to the brand. Now, if you are thinking about doing a product without actually having video, I think you're going to be missing out on a lot. Like, most people are looking at your product today on their phones, so you have to be able to see that video easily accessible on your phone. Here's some of the catalog work. When you're doing photography, lots of supplementary photography, because all the press, the media, they don't do their own photography anymore. They rely on us to provide it for them, for all the bloggers. So we do all the shots. And if you're not developing your website now as you're developing your design idea, well, it's going to be too late, because the website takes time and you need to launch simultaneously as you're working through your idea. So like, now's the time to open the plan for your website. So all the press that we got was worldwide was pretty spectacular, but you can see that most of these things that they used were our shots. The game's a really, really fabulous website using all our shots. Stephen Allen in New York, A+R, where Brad and Angelique shop. That's their website. So then the fun thing happens. We do personal shift launch parties in stores around the world. So one of the components for doing it was, strong graphics, window graphics. You can see now how the packaging's starting to work out in display work. There's a sort of shop in shop that was also designed simultaneously to do like a 200 square foot shop in shop. So fixturing, design, everything planned out, graphics. Homeless is, they're funny in Hong Kong. They'll name their store almost anything. Homeless. What kind of name is that for a store, Gordon? We sell to another store there called G-O-D, God. Like, who would open a store called God here? Well, I don't know. Someone might. This is in Amsterdam, Paris. So what we found, though, that was because we had a strategy to deal with the top stores around the world, and all the trend shop buyers from all the big box stores travel the world to visit these shows and visit these stores. These places became like our showrooms for the Umbra brand. So you can see, even though the dollars were actually quite small relative to Umbra, the marketing value was immense, because we're in almost every country in the best store in the best city. Bangkok, Manila, Taipei. So this was like the launch in New York City at the International Contemporary Furniture Fair, and they won the Editor's Award. And what I was so proud about these guys in the development of it is, well, we always had our eye on the prize. In 2012, when we were working on it, if we go to the International Contemporary Furniture Show and show our product, we must win the Design Editor's Award. We must win it, because why else would we be doing this? So talk about reverse engineering for success. This is not about a linear approach, like step by step to get where you want to go. It's about thinking about 2 years in advance where we want to be, who we want to sell to. This is something that you really have to step back on all your projects on and say, like, where do you want to go with what we're doing? And then come up with a strategy to get there. There's a couple, here's the final collection that we have currently. And there's some nice things going on now. There's some nice furniture pieces, shelving. So actually, now that we have these shelving pieces, we can actually display our product on it in the stores as well. And here's another video. So behind the scenes photography and video is really important to share because that's our marketing to people are viewing our brand. That's how we're not doing advertising campaigns. We're not doing TV. We're not doing buying pages in magazines. We're getting people to get attracted to it through all the social media, and this is in support of social media. We have the videos. So finally, this is the last video. And I love this one because, okay, we talked about more celebrity attachment to be able to get this thing moving. So we worked with a designer in Toronto and also a coffee expert in Toronto, and we put them together. So now you see you can have, if you're talking about developing a product, why would you develop a product that you can't have celebrity attachment to? How are you going to get the idea out there if you don't have some kind of attachment? So why are you working on a product that's going to be so difficult to market, or you maybe will not even be able to market at all, even though it's a good idea? So I say, and this is through my experience of doing thousands of products, is why don't we think about the potential of creating a brand and a market for it, and then having our designers well briefed about where we want to go, what we want to do, how we're going to do it, and then they will be informed by our plan. So the designers are not just working intuitively and coming up with inventions randomly any longer. They have a strategy. It doesn't mean that they're not going to be brilliant, intuitive, and creative in coming up with those ideas, but they're going to be informed and be connected to the business idea. So this is the last video. Okay, guys? Here we go.
Hi, I'm Brian Riche, Creative Director at Castle Design. Yeah, we're filming in our studio right now for the Cowboy Coffee kettle we designed for Umbra. Umbra reached out to us with a design brief to come up with some housewares or products that'll fit into the current Umbra shift line. Coffee culture is huge, and it's a big thing. Everybody has a coffee maker, so we decided we'll do a coffee maker that just is based on cowboy coffee. No filter, even to the degree where we're talking about like an old saw. Coffee. Right now we're in my portable stone carving shop, building a shipping container. I just thought it would look cool. It's the world's first portable stone carving shop. So this is the kind of evolution of the cowboy coffee maker. This is obviously a traditional campfire coffee maker. This was the working model. It came out spun steel with enamel finish, some wood elements. So it still participates in the kind of original campfire percolator coffee maker. We also felt the quality of the coffee that it was important. So we got Sam James involved. He owns like 4 or 5 coffee shops locally, one of the best coffee shops in the city. We reached out to him to do the process.
My name is Sam James, and I own Sam James Coffee Bar as well as Cut Coffee. We are right now in the Sam James Coffee Bar, Cut Coffee, roasting office headquarters. When we took over this space here, it used to be a skateboard shop / event space / print house. So it was kind of lucky for us that we inherited this half-pipe when I got started in coffee kind of at the bottom end of the food business. Okay, I started as a dishwasher. Worked my way up from there to reach a point where if I wanted to do something better, I had to do it myself, so I opened my own shop. Here we are at the Ossington location. Cowboy coffee, which is what you would be making with this, is different from many other drip coffee brew methods in that you retain a lot of the actual grit and the solids from the brewing in the liquid, and that there's no filtration really other than just letting the grind settle to the bottom. You get a much heavier coffee with a lot more mouthfeel, more richness. Takes really well to milk. So enough talking about coffee, let's go make some. So let's talk about how we make cowboy coffee. The first thing we're going to need is some freshly roasted coffee. You're going to need something to weigh that coffee out with, a digital scale or put a spoon to work, and of course you're going to need water and your cowboy coffee kettle. So a full pot of cowboy coffee will yield 4 cups of coffee. Once you've filled up to the last hole, place the lid on, and you can place this directly on the stove and bring to a boil. So you're going to need approximately 50 grams for your 4 cups, which is, give or take, 5 tablespoons. Pour it directly on top of the hot water. You're going to give it a stir to make sure that all the dry coffee is saturated. And if the coffee foams up on you, it's a good indicator that it's fresh. Put your lid back on and start your timer for 5 minutes. It is now time to stir all the floating grinds to allow the coffee grinds and silt to sit to the bottom. For true cowboy coffee, you can walk right away. Simple as that. All there is to cowboy coffee.
I think that addresses the market really well. I mean, thank you very much for listening. There's the links to the website, the Instagram, the Facebook. It'd be great if you did some posting and commented about the lecture. I hope you got something out of the case study. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I'm looking forward to the next speaker. So thank you very much.